So we are so excited. We have Blake Clark, and Blake is a serial entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He owns 6 companies in the real estate and e-commerce spaces. He owns the brokerage, but he's also doing sales himself. He's in Arizona. He is a father of 3. He's a husband, a podcaster, a CEO, an investor, and he loves to see others win in life. And that's what he's here for today. He's going to talk to you about how to crush it. And we're so happy that you're here. Welcome, Blake.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. Well, first thing I want you to talk about is you are really big in talking about kind of the sales funnel.
Yep.
Talking about choosing what works for you in that sales funnel. So I want you to give people different ideas of how they can choose, how many do they need to choose? Is it 3? Is it 5? Should they limit it down to 2 of having that funnel and how they narrow it down to get that to a closing? Let's start with that.
I love it. Yeah. So I think the first things first, when you get started in real estate, even if you're active, you have to really understand what your value proposition is, right? I think that this is where a lot of people are not crystal clear on what value they bring. And obviously being brand new, when you get into business, you may not understand what your value is because you don't have enough experience behind you to say, hey, I'm super good at this. But that's step number 1, is just figure out honestly what value that you bring into the marketplace. That's where it's going to be, right? Confidence is going to start at that foundation right there. Once you understand what your purpose, what your value will be to the consumer, whether you're helping buyers or whether you're helping sellers. Now, when it comes into the lead gen, one of the biggest things I'm big on is just a funnel. It's the simplest thing that you guys can do in your business. This is one of the things that I personally coach on and teach my agents on, is that you have to have 2 to 3, maybe 4 different lead flow processes coming in. And then from there, try them. Because, for example, we have a lot of agents that come in. I'm big on social media. That's one of our big levers for leads in my brokerage, personally with me. But it doesn't always mean that everybody's going to be great at social media. It's a lot of work to really do it right with consistency. And it doesn't mean that their skill set, their ability to communicate is going to translate well through that. Compared to maybe if they're doing open houses, they're going to be way better at that. If you throw somebody face to face, they're good. I've got a couple agents that are absolutely phenomenal on the phones. You'll never see them in an open house because they hate it. They just find it easier to make calls, right? So one of the things I tell everybody is you got to get over yourself and don't enter into anything assuming this is the only way I'm going to do it. My realistic, expectation for people when they come in is try a little bit of everything, but don't try so much to where you're like doing 10 different things because you're not going to really put enough energy and focus into all of them, right? You have to pick and start with maybe 2 to 4 different things. Whether that's, hey, every day I'm going to go hit an open house for 2 to 3 hours. From there, I'm going to do some social media posting, maybe hit some Facebook groups, share some beautiful homes with a good lead magnet page in there, generate a lead, and then make that phone call. Maybe hop on the phones for an hour and just play a game out of it, right? Don't pay attention to how many dials are doing. Just simply say, hey, my goal today is to have 5 conversations with people today. That's it. You can even bring it all the way down. My goal is not to close 5 people. It's just to get on the phone and have 5 conversations today. That would be considered a successful day for me, right? So you focus on that. Farming your neighborhood could be a huge one. I'm not a huge fan of people jumping right in and making farming their first thing because that costs spending a lot of money. And I know when we first start out, you're kind of bootstrapped in some ways. You don't have a lot of cash to throw in a lot of mailers and things. So I always tell people, start out with the resources that you have at your fingertips that are free. This thing right here has a lot of resources that are free for you to start out with, personally.
Yeah, and I want you to talk about, and I love this idea, and I think what you said is get 2 to 4 different things, try a bunch of them and figure out what works for you. But I also think, some things people can catastrophize.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they can make it simpler. Like, I'll give you an example. I would never be someone who could just randomly door knock. But I could do it for my neighborhood, right? So like anywhere that was like 3 miles around my neighborhood, I could totally do that where I could, knock on the door and say, like for me right now, I've moved into a brand new area. So it'd be the perfect thing. I could be like, hi, I'm Chantel. I just want to introduce myself. I just wanted to let you know, I have a 13-year-old son and I have a daughter and I have, I'm married and we have a dog named Gizmo. And I just wanted to introduce myself and I'd love to get to know you better. I mean, that I'm also in real estate. You know, I live here, I sell here. That is a lot more doable, I think, than something where it's, you know, in another city, you know, and I'm just randomly like, hi, you know, so I want you to kind of talk about how some things that can maybe make it change their mindset to go, hey, we should be getting to know our neighbors. Like, that's a really great thing. Like, even if I wasn't in real estate, I should be doing that, right?
You gotta look at everything like American thing, right? So like, for example, with me, I'm in the Phoenix market, and that Phoenix is huge, right? I mean, it literally takes you an hour and a half to drive from one side to the other of Phoenix. And it is a massive marketplace. I am in the 1% of sales in the state of Arizona right now. And I only focus on this little town I live in. It's called Queen Creek, Arizona, Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa. Now, do I sell it all over the state? Sure. If I get a referral and somebody wants me to sell out on the west side of Phoenix, you know, I'll kick that out to one of my agents or I'll work it. But there's a lot of power to be had in a really small marketplace if a lot of people know you in that little marketplace and it's your specialized area, right? So for me, you know, when I first started out, I had a background in e-commerce. So I kind of knew the power of pay-per-click and branding and things like that before I got into real estate, but I didn't have a big following when I got into real estate, right? Like I started off with one follower, and I knew that eventually I wanted to build some kind of brand big enough to where people would come to me and I wouldn't have to spend as much time prospecting, but I was realistic with it in the fact of, okay, I don't have the ability to do that right now. What do I need to do to just get myself or start earning a living, right? Bringing some revenue coming in. So like when I started out in the business, I started cold calling. I got Zillow leads. I don't think they're as good as they were today as they were back then, but I hated cold calling. I had a job cold calling because I was doing my first sales job, and I swore, I was like, I'll never do this again. And I got into real estate and I did it again, but I didn't love it, you know, but what was more important was that I succeeded, right? Okay. So I had to look at things like, hey, I'm going to set aside what I want to do to what I have to do to be successful in this business until I could build up a lead flow that I actually enjoy doing, which for me, the engagement was, let me build a brand. But I knew that was a 3 to 4 to 5 year play before I probably started really seeing, you know, some business come back from that. So for me, it was open houses because I wanted to meet everybody in my area. If I did enough open houses in enough neighborhoods in my surrounding area, I would shake hands with a lot of people and meet a lot of people and get face to face as they were there. Hey, you guys got a social media? Let me add you guys. I'd love to, you know, just be a part of it. And that's how I'd find people that way, right? Facebook groups. I used to find every local Facebook group. I would take the properties that were for sale in our neighborhood and our areas that were great deals. I'd have a squeeze page on my website and I'd blast it out in the Facebook groups and everybody would see me. They're like, man, we see this guy every day in Facebook groups. And I made sure to put, you know, Queen Creek resident, Queen Creek specialist, you know, again, you're planting all of these seeds, whether that's through cold calling in local areas, your neighborhood, door knocking. I agree with you. I hate door knocking. That was my biggest shit. But my end goal was, hey, eventually I want to work to the point where it could be social media and repeat clients, right? I want enough business where past clients come to me. Well, how do I play that game? That means I need to do a lot of transactions to get a lot of repeat clients, right? My first year, I only get 5 deals. And then my second year, I get 10 deals. That's only 15 transactions in 2 years. I'm probably not going to get a lot of repeat business. How can I scale this thing up, right? So I got absolutely nuts. Like my goal every day was I had to talk to 10 new people a day, whether that be I would, you know, be at an open house, have them come through the door. And then my goal was to generate 5 to 10 new leads per day through link sharing. So I'd find great deals on the MLS. I'd have a squeeze page. I go to my local Facebook groups and share it and say, hey, check out this incredible home. It's under market value. You know, it's a great deal in this neighborhood, da-da-da-da-da. I wouldn't put the price on there usually in case there was a price adjustment, but I put a squeeze page so people would have to click on it, register to view that only. Then I'd pick up the phone and call them right away. Hey, thanks so much for visiting my website. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Blake. By the way, this isn't a sales call. I'm not trying to get anything out of you. I just wanted to simply introduce myself and say thank you. That right there would bring the wall down and at least open up a conversation with them, right? 2 to 3 years of that, my business blew up. I mean, I hit the top 1% in sales within 2.5, almost 3 years of being in the business, just by doing that consistently every single day.
Well, I mean, just so you know, last week, the guy that came on the Millionaire Real Estate Podcast said the same thing. He said, I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
You have to have 10 conversations a day. Like you figure out what works for you, but you got to get 10 conversations per day. And I think that's so reasonable. Like it's like, if I only have one goal for the day, I'm going to figure out a way that I'm going to have 10 conversations a day, whether that means I'm going to go to the grocery store, whether that means, with my name badge or on, literally, just so you know, we had an agent who literally said she had gone to Target. She had her name badge. She had listened to the podcast, and she was like, someone had said, try wearing your name badge. She went there, she put her name badge on, and somebody in line said, how is the market? Because, I am thinking about putting my house on the market. I'm curious, are things good right now? By the time you know it, the next day, she listed that girl's house from doing one activity. And, she kind of spun up a conversation with her, like, I like your shoes, or I like your dress, or whatever it is. But it's making that commitment for the 10 conversations a day. Any other ways that you can think of that people can choose their sales funnel of getting those 10 conversations per day?
You have to be proactive, right? Like I tell people this, everything I do is consistent, right? From literally, like you mentioned the name bad thing. So I keep my company logo on here. I can learn this black flat bill hat and polo shirt, by the way, since 2017. I kid you guys not. My closet looks like Mr. Rogers. You open it up, it's just all black polo shirts and hat. My kids make a joke out of it and stuff like that. But there's a method to my madness, right? If you guys go to my social media page, everything is wearing this. So when I wear this, they see me online in the Facebook groups. They see my pictures, my posts. They see some of the cars I drive. They share stuff like that. The Facebook groups, the paid traffic. If I am in, like, there's local businesses in the area, I'll personally go to their page and engage on it. Hey, this is awesome. Looking forward to this. This place is great. I'll share the local business, tag them in it. They start following me, right? You have to be proactive and like going out and actually meeting people, right? And the problem is, since COVID happened, everybody was like, oh, I'm going to go to digital marketing. I'm going to go online. I'm just going to do social media. And it's like, okay, that's great if you don't really have a following and you're just posting with 200 followers a day. What makes you think you're going to have enough conversations? See, since we've been on this call, I've already got 3 DMs sitting here waiting for me, right? I have typically anywhere from 20 to 30 DMs a day. Some of them are clients, some of them are friends, some of them are whatever, but it's one big CRM that allows me to engage with 10 to 15 people a day. But back to that, like I keep a very consistent brand. When we're out in public, I take my daughter to school. Everybody's like, I know that guy, flat bill hat, black t-shirt, same thing. Imagine, and it doesn't have to be that extreme in your marketplace. It could be just wearing a badge wherever you go, but you want people to recognize you. Like, that's why I said, I call it the mayor campaign. If you're trying to, like for me, if I was trying to serve all of Phoenix, like let me talk to everybody in all Phoenix, all 2 million people here. I almost relate it to like a garden hose, right? You have this garden hose, and when you put the nozzle on mist, the water comes out. It's the same exact volume. It's just spread out, and it doesn't really clean anything, right? It just kind of touches a little bit of everything. It's a little misty. You take that nozzle, you turn it in, you condense it into one area. You could pressure wash the heck out of that parking lot and clean it up. That's the same thing with your energy and where you're funding and where you're marketing in your marketplace. You don't need to market an entire city. You can start with your own neighborhood. Over 70% of my sales volume in the luxury market is literally in the neighborhood I live in. I happen to live in a neighborhood where the sales prices are $1.5 to $9 million right now. My wife and I took over that neighborhood by going out every single night, going for a walk. Guess what I wear? As crazy as it sounds, my neighbors are outside. I'm on social media. I went in our neighborhood Facebook group. I friend requested every one of my neighbors onto my social media. Why? Because I'm on their marketing every day. So I want them to be like, wait a minute. I see that guy walking in my neighborhood. I see that guy making stories and posting here. That looks like he lives right in my community, right? They see our signs with our big logo in front of a bunch of houses out there. So again, that's why I call it the mayor campaign. You want everybody to know you. You want to shake hands with everybody in your guys' local neighborhoods, communities, restaurants, and you want it to be as consistent as possible so that people know exactly who you are. They should recognize you guys everywhere.
I want to tell you, one of the reasons why I joined and I just love Cancel is that I can get 100% commission, I get revenue share, and I get stock. I am making thousands of dollars every single month in revenue share and stocks. And I now don't have to work nights and weekends on real estate anymore. You know, I've actually never been to a real estate agent's retirement party, and I want to be the first one that people are coming to at a young age. And I want to share with you some of my favorite resources. So if you go to joincanzel.com/free, there's a couple that I want you to download. One is a 20 free lead generating PDF. It's going to help you generate leads for free that you can download, as well as there's one on how to double your business. I don't want you to miss it. Go download it today. joincanzel.com/free.
So I love that idea that you just said, because like in my neighborhood that I'm in right now, I don't think there is a Facebook group, but I'll find out if there is one. But you can actually create one. Like
Absolutely.
I can go ahead and create the Facebook group. Then I can go around and door knock. What?
You can buy them, by the way. I have a Facebook group of one of my rental properties. The neighborhood has 710 houses. Some lady was running it, and I said, hey, do you want to sell this thing? And she's like, yeah, how much? I said, oh, what do you want for it? She's like, $50. Done. Bought the Facebook group. I Venmoed her $50.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Over 1,000 residents now in a Facebook group. So like part of my wife and I's farming methodology is you can send mailers all you want, right? And that's great. You're going to spend a lot of money, but there's so much more that goes into this, right? Because if you're going to go farm your neighborhood, because that's what we do, we're really good at farming neighborhoods through social media, flyers in a few different ways. But let's say you're a brand new agent and you go up against somebody like me, I've got a way bigger budget. I can send 3 times. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm trying to make a point to you that I want you guys to think outside the box on this, right? What competitive advantage can you have over anybody else if you're trying to farm a neighborhood, right? Well, first things first, if you run the Facebook group, you can be the person that goes in there and engages with all of your neighbors. Hey guys, I want to put a post up today. Let's celebrate every person that lives in the community that's a business owner. How can I help you today? Let's do me a favor, drop your business in this contact. And that's what we do in my neighborhood. We have plumbers, doctors, dentists, chiropractors, like everybody's in there. Anytime somebody needs something, we try to refer our, the neighbors like, oh, you should go to this guy. He lives right here in the community. He owns the AC business, right? So what two things is they're like, oh, I love Blake. He's always shouting my company out for AC services. He's always shouting us out for plumbing businesses, right? Because I'm trying to help out my neighbors and their businesses go and grow. So I run the Facebook group. I hate to say this, but guess what happens when another realtor tries to add themselves into my group? Delete, right? I run that. It's my group. You're not coming in and taking my heart. Then what I'll do is I'll send a mailer to the mail, and then I'll take a digital copy, post it in the Facebook group. Hey guys, monthly mailer just went out. Go check your mailbox. Let us know if you got it, right? So we do that. Not that it's a huge difference, but they see it in the group and they're like, wait a minute. Okay, great. Let me keep an eye out for the mailer. Instead of just tossing in the trash, you're like, oh, there's that mailer Blake told me to look out for. Does it mean anything? I don't know, but I guarantee you they all didn't look at it because I told them to keep an eye out for it, right? So we do a lot of that. My wife does things like she'll pay an ice cream truck. When it's not expensive, it's like $300. We'll send an ice cream truck through the whole neighborhood. We'll put a post in the Facebook group. Hey guys, pop-up ice cream truck. It's going to be rolling around the neighborhood. Send your kids out. Ice cream on us right now. They're taking pictures of it. They're tagging it. Like, thanks so much, guys. Da-da-da-da-da. We throw a big Christmas event in our neighborhood. We pay a photographer to come in, basically. Invite all the neighbors' kids to our house, like right in the front yard. We'll put Santa in the driveway with Mrs. Claus, let them do a whole thing. Mail letters to the North Pole. My wife literally stamps them all and throws them in a mailbox and mails them back to the kids, like, as a response from Santa. It's a little time consuming, but it's only one time a year. We did take all those photos from the photographer and drop them in the local Facebook group, right? This is how you farm a neighborhood, not just sending mailers out, okay? Like, there's so many things you guys can do. And I'm telling you, like, if you have a neighborhood of 700 people, think about that. You could easily pull 3 to 4 sales a month out of a 700-person neighborhood that you live in, being the neighborhood specialist.
I love it. I want you to talk about how to tap into the luxury market. So you have the ability, obviously, to be in a high-end neighborhood, but let's pretend someone's right now, they're not living in a high-end neighborhood, but they really want to get into the luxury market. Give us a few practical steps that they can do to get there.
Yeah, we're going to go deep with this, so stay with me here, because I wish I could tell you guys it's as easy as like, oh, send out this luxury mailer and it works. It doesn't, okay? I had this story changed my life, by the way. So I was doing sales and a high volume. I was in the business for 5 years. I had sold over, I think, just over 400 homes. And I had never sold over $1 million home. And I'm like, what is wrong with me, right? I'm one of the top sales agents in the state. I'm doing volume. By this point, I bought my first Lamborghini, like my dream car, right? But I hear my success from other people. I just didn't, like, my whole backstory is a whole other thing, but let's just say I was homeless for a while as a kid, and we ended up in Arizona from Las Vegas because we had lost our house, and we were literally living in an office building. And so I always had these big goals, right? Like, I got to do more and be more and stuff like that, you know? But I hid my success from a lot of people because I didn't want people to look at me in a negative light and be like, oh, that guy's just some arrogant a-hole and whatever, right? So I hid it. I drove around a 2008 Infiniti G35 with 280,000 miles on it. And that was like my thing. I'm like, oh, I sell houses. I do a lot, but I didn't show the harm that I was able to move my family into just from doing volume, right? Like, I was, you know, selling a lot of houses, making good money, selling a lot of 300 to 400 to 500K houses, doing 80 to 100 units a year myself, right? Like, doing good, but just not the luxury good market, like that market. But I, you know, lived in about a $1.3 million home at the time. I bought my first Lambo, and I showed none of this on social media. I just didn't, you know, here's the best thing I could tell you. People that are successful, they didn't just land there most of the time. They worked their friggin' butts off. They sacrificed a lot. Like, after knowing a lot of business owners, after being a business owner myself, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that too. They don't relate well to the people that are like, oh, take it easy. Life's all about balance. It's okay to not want that. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you have to understand the demographic of a luxury market. They do care about success. They do care about, you know, winning and wanting a $3 to $4 to $5 million home, right? So if this is a market that you want to get into, you have to learn how to start identifying and talking the language. Where did this all change for me? I had a really good friend. He was actually my neighbor, multimillionaire business owner, good guy. He coached me a lot. He was helping me kind of move up the ladder in success and just, you know, just giving me so much good advice. And one day he's like, I'm going to hook you up with my brother. He's going to sell his home. About $1.5 to $2 million home here. I'm gonna make the connection with you guys. I'm like, oh my gosh, sweet. This is it. My first $1 million home, right? Mind you, I'd already ran a team. This is about 2019. I'm 4 years in the business. I've cleared about over 500 homes at this time, right? And he comes up and introduces, super nice. He goes, can I give you some honest feedback? And I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. He's like, you don't look successful. Therefore, I wouldn't hire you if you weren't being handed over. Like, my brother didn't make the introduction. And I was like, damn, like, what do you mean I'm not successful? Like, I'm one of the, you know, top in the state. Like, I've worked really hard. He's like, yeah, but I see the house you live in. I see the car you drive, and I see you on social media, and you post nothing about being successful or winning. And he goes, let me ask you a question. If you were to go in for open heart surgery, your life's on the line, and your doctor, you know he's good, but he pulls up in like a 93 Honda Accord, would you think you made the right choice? He goes, but that... He goes, take away the whole, like, humble thing. Like, what would the feeling in your heart be if you saw him pull up in that? And I'm like, it hurt, but I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, if you were you're facing prison for 20 years, right, for attempted murder or something like that, and your attorney pulls up in, you know, this friggin' 2001 Camry, right? Like, are you going to feel like you hired the best person for the job, right? And it broke my reality because I've always been that guy that's like, you can't really judge a book by the cover. I'm not saying that, but the way that he worded it for me, he was like, from the outside looking in, from somebody that's successful, looking at you from the outside, but knowing you on the inside, you don't look successful. He goes, I wouldn't have hired you. He goes, I run multi-million-dollar companies in business. And he did. This guy's like 50 states, auto glass business, a solar business. I mean, this guy is killing it. And he's like, I want the best representation for me. I want somebody that understands my whole, understands money, and da-da-da-da. And you're not showing up as that. I was so pissed. I went home and told my wife, I was like, man, forget this guy. Like, I'm successful. I was mad. But the more I thought about it that night, I was really like, how am I showing up in the world? Am I talking the language of him? Like, I get it because I was a business owner, but I was trying to attach myself to that first-time home buyer, right? And the demographic of a first-time home buyer, that it served me so well through the beginning of my career, that conversation is very different. You don't want to pull up to a first-time home buyer home in a Lambo and other, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't relate. I was trying to attach to that because that served me. But then when you think about the luxury market, they don't want people that don't celebrate success. They don't want people that don't want to win. They don't want people that aren't aggressive and hungry. Successful people want the best in the business no matter what they do. They like the best restaurants. They don't pay top dollar for the best. You just have to like look at the way that they live in most cases. You know what I mean? They go on the best vacations. They like the nicest places, the nicest restaurants, the best doctors, the best schools for their kids. Their entire mindset and how they got to be successful is I want the best. If you're online and you're talking about, oh, it's okay, take it easy, be humble, lifestyle, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but just understand for somebody who gave everything to make it to the top and sacrificed family, sacrificed everything, and then they got somebody online telling them that stuff, they're just not going to relate to you. You know what I mean? And so when I started shifting my journey, I was like, all right, this is what I am. I'm a business owner. I work my freaking butt off. And it's a very delicate balance. You don't want to go out there and be arrogant, bragging. Look how I got this stuff. I'm not saying that. You have to talk about the journey, but I used to be here and I got here, used to see this. But when I started sharing my wins, like, I'm successful. I got a lamp. Not that that matters, but I call it the receipts. I can show the success. I can show that I understand how to play the game. I can show that I value being successful as much as they do. Man, it literally was like overnight. I sold that house. I started showing success. I started showing wins. I started telling people it's okay to win. It's okay to be successful. You deserve that as an individual. Man, I started connecting the dots with all these other business owners. I started networking with them. Boom. From now, my average sales price as of, I think last week when we checked was like 1.45 million right now. So.
Love it. That is so true. I love that mentality. Let's wrap up by talking about Instagram. You are king of Instagram right now. And I want
that far, but
I want you to talk about how you boost your Instagram posts and how you target people, because Instagram and Facebook have gotten to the point where they've kind of banned you almost in the real estate realm of like being able to target to the right people. So talk about what you do, what kind of posts you do, and what you do to target people on Instagram.
Yeah. So you have to make content that's engaging with people, right? You guys can go check out my Instagram page there and just kind of get an idea. My best piece of advice, don't copy directly because people notice it. It just doesn't, it's not authentically you. You have to find out who you authentically are on the inside and put that message out there. But the goal with social media is, where I see a lot of people mess up in business, is they only post about business and people don't know you, right? So it has to be a healthy mix of, here's me as an entrepreneur and business owner. This is kind of me behind the scenes. This is my thought process, my mentality, the way I see the world, the way that I like to make things occur in the world. And then the other half of that is, what do you do for a living? You're a real estate professional, right? So here's how I do sales. Here's how I market property. So my biggest thing is I love marketing. And I tell all my agents, okay, I don't care what you learned in real estate school, you're no longer a real estate agent. And they all look at me with a blank face. I said, you're a marketer. Because real estate agent means that, yes, you have a license and you have a skill set, but so do 66 other thousand people in the state of Arizona. So if that's all your identity is I'm a realtor, you might as well just get in line with 66,000 people and say, close your eyes and pick one, right? You have to take control of your own hands and you have to really be able to demonstrate your skill set. You can get online all day and say, I know the best way to write this offer. Nobody cares. I know the best way to legally keep your earnest deposit. Nobody really cares. That shit's important, right? So what's most important to them is are you a great marketer? And especially if you're a listing agent, I primarily am a listing agent. How can you demonstrate marketing their own in the best highlight and get as many eyeballs as possible? So we play the marketing game. That's why I tell my agents, you're a marketer. Your job is to have conversations, get attention from people, engage people, have them follow you, build a great following, the people that love to see you market, right? Because when it comes time to sell their own, man, I got to go hire this person. I know 10 other realtors, they could throw a rock and hit a realtor in their local marketplace. But what's going to differentiate you is how good can you market online, right? So I invested in a videographer. I've got a professional guy. I didn't always have that. I mean, but there's so many things you can do with this little phone right here, like just so many different free apps and CapCut and things like that. But once I got to the point where I can set aside a budget of about $3,000 to $4,000 a month, and I know that sounds like a lot, but I get dividends in return, I hired a professional videographer. And his job is he shows up and makes 3 to 4 videos per week. So if you look at some of my old highlighted reels, you'll see how I do it. I like to do a fun twist. I've got 2 different video versions. I'll either do a nice, slow, clean, like ABC 15 TV home walkthrough, and then I'll do a cool like Instagram style or TikTok edit that kind of goes a little viral or like people like or catches their attention, right? Because that's the thing. People that have homes, especially luxury homes, they're all about the details. those guys are proud of their $30,000 a client's package in that house. You got to showcase a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? You got to highlight, you got to point it out and stuff. So I make really cool, like 1 to 2 minute edits, throw those in Instagram and Facebook, and then I boost those posts. Or I personally don't boost through Instagram because Apple charges a 30% service fee now. So I do it through the back end of Facebook Ads Manager with my Instagram link to that. And she's right. It kind of sucks because you can't.
Wait, say that. Can you say that one more time? So you're saying if you boost directly with Instagram, they will charge you Apple will charge you 30%?
Yeah, go to your Instagram and try to hit a boost right now. It's going to take you and say Apple charges the 30% surcharge now.
Wow, I did not know that. I think because we always do everything through Facebook anyway. We've always done it that way. So I've never done it the other way, but I didn't know about that.
Well, and you got to be intentional. Like, here's the thing. I see agents all the time from like Washington State marketing properties to me. I'm like, I shouldn't be seeing this. Like, you're wasting money. The first thing I see, I'm like, you're wasting money, right? And I know some of them are like, well, what if somebody from Arizona wants to? That's like, you're better off just spending that money in your local market to local people, right? Those one-off people, I promise you, they're not sitting at home like, I think I want to move to Washington today.
How are you, but say it again, how are you targeting only two? So really,
there's a few different ways.
What are they doing wrong? What are those people doing wrong that the people in Washington are targeting people in?
I'm not targeting local. So for example, if I had a house in Queen Creek, I'm going to serve that house in Queen Creek to Queen Creek and maybe the surrounding like 5 or 10 mile radius, right? Most people in like Peoria, which is an hour and a half away on the other side of the city, are not going to be like, oh, I'm going to go buy this house because I saw it on a Facebook ad, right? Again, you're trying to play the odds game of who would buy this house. Most likely somebody already in the area. If it's an out-of-town buyer, they're going to find it on the MLS anyways because they're going to be actively searching for a home out of state, right? So I serve it locally. But it's twofold. Number one, it's to maybe bring a buyer. But number two, it's to showcase my work to other buyers, right? So when I walk into listing appointments, 9 times out of 10, I'll say, how did you hear about me? Oh, we see your stuff all over Instagram. We always do your ads. Always. And it's always like local in Queen Creek. So,
but what I'm saying is because, I know that in Instagram and Facebook, you have to be really careful. So what is it when you hit targeting? Are you putting an address and say, put a radius of this amount?
Yeah, that's a special ads category. So in the back of the ads manager, there's an option that says special ads category, and you have to select housing, and then they'll run your ad, and it won't get shut down. But the only downside to that is you can't target on age or male, female. That's the only frustrating thing, with Facebook, unfortunately, is and Instagram is that like $1 million homes, an 18-year-old's not going to buy that. But unfortunately, to meet the fair housing requirements on Facebook, you have to select it that it's special listing requirements, housing. They take away the option to select age and sex and religion and things like that, right? But you can target location, okay? Or you could target other things like shopping for a home. That's one of the things. Applying for a mortgage. Like there's things that you can target on there basically is what it is. So yeah, or radius. I select.
So you can just target on radius then.
Yep. Queen Creek area. Another thing I do is I can take and skip trace an entire neighborhood, get all their information, upload that as a custom audience, and then Facebook will actually go find all those people. So if we're farming our neighborhood, I'll go skip trace all my neighbors, get their phone numbers, their email addresses, their address, and then I'll throw them in Facebook, create a custom audience, and I'll serve an ad. Say, hey, today I'm in this community right here. I'm standing in front of the Pegasus community. It's got a cool video of me in front of it, walking through the neighborhood, highlighting it. And I'm serving ads to residents in that particular neighborhood so that they can see me. So,
and what program are you using to do skip tracing?
I have my title company do it, but there's Skip REI is a good one that I've used. There's RedX is another one I've used. I think there's a White Pages option my wife says she uses too that you can subscribe for. So.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. I've actually gone way over time, but I've enjoyed myself so much that I lost all track of time. Let's show him some love in the chat. Blake did such a great job. And Blake, if someone's in the Arizona area, tell them how they can find you and where they can follow you.
Yeah, you guys can hit me up. I'm on Facebook. It's just under Blake B. Clark. And then on Instagram, it's just Blake_sales_AZ. That's where it's at. And you guys can just shoot me a DM if you guys got any questions. I'll try to get to it. I have a little bit of downtime, some of my meetings and stuff, and I'm happy to help out in any way I can.
I love it.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rating and a review so we can get this out to more agents. And tune in next week for another power-packed episode. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Podcast.